Good morning, David. How are you, man?
Hey, what's up, David?
Good. Did he score 56 yesterday?
He did.
Wow. I know. I saw that he had been at 40, and then they were ahead, and I had to go somewhere, so I didn't see the end of it. That's amazing. I also saw that he has the second most 40-plus games after age 30, and he's not that far from Jordan.
It's so many records, David. Like he has the most 40 points games after the age of 30, most 50-point games since the age of 35, on and on and on. We can give you a million stats.
Man, it would be cool to see him win another one with him. Then you could have some real debates, right, about legacy and all that. That's fun. That's good stuff. But yeah, I'm doing well. I was at the NFL Combine, and John Lynch spoke, and the off season is in full swing now. Next time we'll probably talk to him is at the owners' meetings in West Palm Beach, unless there's big news in the next month, right? If something happens on the Brock Purdy front sooner than people expect, then I'm sure the 49ers will have a press conference then. But this was kind of the end of the desert after the end of the season. It's longer than we had anticipated. Last year was only 2 weeks between the Super Bowl and the Combine. This year, because the 49ers didn't make the playoffs, there was this longer gap, and we started to fill in some of the blanks.
Okay, you're very good at knowing where the Niners are, what's realistic, what's not, and you're good at knowing personalities. So all that said, how did you read John Lynch's comments about Brock Purdy? In other words, did you get anything from what he had to say?
I think the 49ers are bracing themselves for what's going to be a really tough negotiation. I don't think that's surprising. I think we've been reading the tea leaves for a while. Brock Purdy's obviously been really good over his first 3 years. The quarterback market has exploded, so he has every right to ask for a lot of money, and the 49ers have paid more A-list stars than any other team since John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan took over in 2017. There also was big-time cash spend, especially this past offseason, with not the desired ROI, right? They extended Trent Williams, extended Christian McCaffrey, and signed Brandon Ayuk to the deal worth $30 million annually, and then they went 6-11 for a multitude of reasons, probably injuries at the top of the list, but still, when you pour those kind of resources into your veterans, you do want a better finish than the 49ers manage. So I think there's just a big big push on financial efficiency from the 49ers, and to some extent, it actually already got started last year in a successful fashion because they did hit on that 2024 draft class. At least the first-year returns do indicate that. But it's going to take longer for that 2024 rookie class to really take an impactful hold on the won-loss record. I just think that they really feel the need to deliver an encore in 2025 with this draft class as part of that whole push for financial efficiency so that this team is salary cap sustainable for the long run, given all that they've spent. So the entirety of the Brock Purdy negotiation and discussion has to happen within that framework, which is why the 49ers are going to push for the best deal on their end. Purdy's going to push for the best deal on his end. And I think all signs indicate that both sides are digging in for what's going to be some tough negotiating.
Oof, I don't know about. I don't know if we have the stomach for this. Can it get done in time for OTAs?
Well, just because it's a tough negotiation doesn't mean that it might take all that long. So sometimes you hit the sweet spot a little bit earlier. I know generally a tough negotiation is probably going to be correlated with more time. But right now, they're in the infancy is what John Lynch said. So we don't have any indication of what Brock Purdy's plans would be for the offseason program if the deal isn't done yet. There's also middle ground, right? There's some gray area. If good progress is being made, good faith can be showed by both sides. So maybe Brock Purdy would be around for OTAs. Maybe he wouldn't take the field, but he'd be in the meeting room. I don't know. I'm spitballing here, but I do know that it's not necessarily a black and white proposition. I think that if both sides are working together toward a common goal, you could find a rhythm in the offseason that makes sense.
John also talked about the future of Deebo Samuel and his desire for a fresh start. So, David, what can you tell us about the Deebo Samuel trade market, and do you think it's more likely that Deebo will be traded or cut by the 49ers?
Well, the divorce makes sense John Lynch literally said that. He didn't say divorce, but he said make the splitting apart from Deebo Samuel makes sense. And it makes sense because the 49ers are building their team around Brock Purdy. Purdy's a different type of quarterback than they've had in the past. There's a lot more off schedule. He's pushing the ball further downfield after he's running around a little bit. So the 49ers are looking for more of a separator than a bulldozer at that Deebo Samuel spot. And Deebo obviously qualifies more as a bulldozer. They ranked dead last in 2024 in average yards of separation at the time of catch or incompletion. And that was because Brandon Ayuk wasn't available, Christian McCaffrey wasn't available, and Deebo Samuel was much higher up in the pecking order. And obviously it just wasn't a good fit with what the 49ers were doing offensively. It was his worst season. There also were injury questions, the pneumonia question. And long story short, the 49ers have decided that they don't want to give Deebo Samuel a big lucrative extension at this age. And anytime a player of his stature enters a lame duck year on his contract, he's going to want an extension. If the existing team doesn't give him one, he's going to want to try to find it elsewhere. So in that way, this is standard operating procedure. And because the 49ers recognize that Deebo isn't really the foundational fit with Brock Purdy that he might have been in the past with Jimmy Garoppolo, they've decided that they're going to be okay with obliging that trade request. Now, as far as what the market for him is going to be, that's what this week at the NFL Combine is for. We'll see what comes out of this week. I would expect, some firmer speculation, rumors, whatever you want to call it, to really emerge after the 49ers get done meeting with a lot of these teams. But John Lynch did indicate that there has been significant interest. Now, whether or not that interest matches the level of interest of the 49ers will require, because you're going to take a bigger dead cap hit now to trade him than if you cut him with a post-June 1st designation. So you're going to want to command, I think, at least a fifth-round pick to make the bigger cap, dead cap absorption now worth it if you're the 49ers.
David, just squeeze in the last one here before I let you go, and that is the Combine. Like, what do you think they're looking at? Well, I mean, the easy answer, O-line, D-line, yeah, trenches. Is it that simple?
Well, I think they're looking at everything, to be honest. I think they're going to go best player available, but it may just be that the best player available is a defensive lineman, or maybe even they see a tackle like that guy out of Missouri, Armand Membu, and they're at 11 and he's available, and they say this matches our very stringent requirements for an offensive tackle, because they're very, very picky at that offensive tackle position. But one position that I think they do have to address at some point, and probably this offseason, is tackle, because Colton McKivitz is entering a lame duck year on his contract, and Trent Williams only has two years left. He's 36 years old. So it's tough to find a tackle. This is the highest the 49ers are scheduled to pick since 2020. And, generally when you have one of those higher picks, more of those tackles are going to be available. But I will say that we saw the defensive lineman test yesterday. First off, there are 41 defensive tackles at the Combine. Only 25 were invited last year, so it gives you an idea of how deep the class is there. But then we just saw some insane stuff athletically. Yesterday, Shamar Stewart with a perfect 10 relative athletic score. And then James Pierce Jr., who's the edge rusher out of Tennessee. His 40 at 4.47 is faster than a lot of the 40s that we're going to see from wide receivers coming up here at the end of the week. So that's just the setup. And, maybe that means 49ers also will be able to find somebody really worthwhile for the defensive line with their second pick, just because there's so many of these guys and the scores have been so awesome. There might be an advantage for the 49ers in terms of, when it comes to supply and demand. The supply might be very, very high in this draft for defensive linemen.
And then, David, one last question about the wide receiver room. If the 49ers do end up moving on from Deebo Samuel, do you think they already have a replacement in building, someone like Isaac Guerrero? Do you think maybe they would invest some draft capital in a wide receiver, or do you think maybe they would take that free agent route? I
think they still feel the need to do some work at wide receiver, just because last year was such a cautionary tale of that position. If a couple of guys get hurt, and all of a sudden you drop from, they were number 11 in 2023 in the average separation stat, and obviously they did it fine against man coverage in general in 2023, but it plummeted down to the dead last, number 32, and they were still fine against zone, but they couldn't beat man last year. The man coverage efficiency splits for the 49ers offense were terrible, so it was just a cautionary tale of you better have that receiving room stacked, because there's going to be attrition throughout the course of the season. And if that attrition causes you to fall to the bottom of the league rankings in efficiency against man coverage, well, you have this crazy big weakness that other teams are just going to exploit by playing man against you all the time. So I do think that whether it be through the draft or through free agency, the 49ers are going to be looking to make a move at receiver. It might not be a huge move. Somebody like Darius Slayton is scheduled to be a free agent. So, mid-tier receiver could be the answer in free agency, or yet another draft pick.
Man, all right. No shortage of topics, David. We will read you in the San Francisco Standard with your new colleague, John Shea. We had him on earlier this week talking about the Giants, too. So good stuff over at the Standard. Everybody check it out at sfstandard.com. Thank you, David.
Yeah, thanks, David.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Yeah, good day. Good